Coming up, men's basketball gets hit with the injury bug.
And later, Iowa's Stephen Buchanan turns the tide in Carver.
Hello everyone and welcome to DITV Sports in the Zone. I'm Colin Carithers.
And I'm Brady Barron. We're going to give you a look at all things Hawkeye sports.
And Brady, I know there was a lot in sports, but first, looking ahead in the week, Valentine's Day is coming up, so I want to take this moment to say, love you, man. Just appreciate being here with you.
Thanks, Colin. Let's just take a look at the last week in Hawkeye athletics. Starting off, the men's basketball team hosted the 7th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers, and boom, a block by Evan Bronze. He followed that up with a putback on the other end, and of course, coming up here is the elite passer that is Brock Harding. Here he is, and he's going to get a little no-look to Riley Mulvey for a dunk here. Iowa going to lose, though, 90-81.
Flash over to the tennis court. Cy-Hawk matchup, Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa State would earn the doubles point, so have the lead there. But Iowa coming back with their singles points. We're on 3. It would come down to the final singles match, 3-3 between Iowa and Iowa State. But down the stretch, goes into the net, and Iowa State would prevail, though Iowa would bounce back yesterday with a win over DePaul, 4-1.
Going up north to Minnesota, the women's basketball team would get a delayed trip after the ice storm having to stop in Cedar Rapids. But right there, Hannah Stolke gets her 1,000th career point, only the 44th Hawkeye to do that, And Iowa, they'd take over with the three-point game, 33% from beyond the arc. Big part of their victory there, 68-60.
Well, let's bring things back to Carver Hawkeye Arena as the number 3 Iowa Hawkeyes men's wrestling team took on number 7 Nebraska, and it was a little ugly start for the Hawkeyes. They lost 5 of their first 8 matches, including that loss by Gabe Arnold in overtime. They trailed by 7, but Stephen Buchanan, a huge pin there, energizing all of Carver Hawkeye Arena. The crowd just exploded. Then Ben Keeter would finish things off with a reversal, a few more points, and earn the win. Iowa comeback victory over Nebraska, 19-16.
And then let's stay in Carver Hawkeye Arena for the men's basketball team hosting the 21st-ranked Wisconsin Badgers. And Price Sanford right here, big-time bucket before halftime. He'd lead the team in points with 14, but in this ranked matchup, it would not be enough, as we're going to see a big-time put-back dunk right here from Wisconsin. They go on to win 74-63.
Well, a lot of really cool opponents there, a lot of ranked opponents coming in there, Brady, but that wasn't all we had in Iowa athletics this weekend, as the Hawkeye softball team started off the season 2-3 over their weekend in Florida. They took down Kennesaw State 5-0 to start their trip off right, but they fell to 5th-ranked Tennessee 10-1. On Saturday, the Hawkeyes got back in the win column with a dominant victory over Marshall, but they fell to their 2nd-ranked opponent, 10th-ranked Texas Tech, 11-0. They then finished off their weekend with one last ranked opponent, 15th-ranked Missouri, where they go on to lose a close one, 3-2. But with all the action comes movement in the standings, so let's take a look at where Iowa stands in a few key sports. Starting with men's basketball team, Iowa's 2 losses to ranked Purdue and Wisconsin bumped them down to the danger zone, ranked 14th in the Big Ten. Right now it's a logjam between Iowa, Northwestern, and Minnesota for the last 2 spots in the tournament.
Now moving over to women's basketball, the Hawkeyes currently sit at 12th after their win over Minnesota. They have some cushion on the 15th spot, though, with Wisconsin and Rutgers each sitting at 4 conference games back on Iowa.
And the men's wrestling, they had a big week with their win over Nebraska, has them back up to 3rd in the conference. Penn State's still strong at the top, but Iowa will get a chance to take that 2nd spot this week in a duel with 2nd-ranked Minnesota.
Now let's look back at the duel for the men's wrestling team this weekend. One of the matches lit up the crowd completely. DITV's Elise Scan gives us insights on one of the biggest matches of the season.
Me personally, wrestling in Carver, that's the loudest it's been for me, so it was definitely a moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Stephen Buchanan had the weight of Carver Hawkeye Arena on his back as Iowa was headed toward an upset against number 7 Nebraska. However, Buchanan stayed focused on his task ahead. 0-0 first period with the duel on the line. A rare slow start for the first-ranked wrestler. Bonus points were a need.
So I saw the score and I knew I had to get bonus points. But yeah, just trying to wrestle every position to the best of my ability to get our team in a position of winning.
Finally, Buchanan's flame was lit, monstering his way to a 17-4 lead. Then, with all but 8.4 seconds left, Nebraska stood no chance against the feral Iowa wrestler. Stephen Buchanan had two things: his opponent pinned and Carver Hawkeye Arena's volume at its peak.
Man, it brings you to a whole new level. Like, you're tired, you're drained, and you hear the noise, and you see your team getting hyped, and it just juices you up. You have the best training partners in the country, you have the best coaches in the country, and they put you in the best position to score the most points on a mat, and you gotta trust that, have confidence in that, and when you do that, good things happen.
Buchanan looks to carry his momentum into his next duel against Minnesota. From Carver Hawkeye Arena, Elise Gann, DITV Sports.
And Brady, like we saw earlier in the show, the Iowa men's basketball team struggled against a couple of ranked opponents. They've been without big man Owen Freeman, and they saw another player banged up against Wisconsin. DITV's Joel Keller has a look at Drew Thelwell's injury.
Even with this shot not falling like it usually does, Drew Thelwell had a major impact on the game.
The only disappointment in it for me is I only get to coach him 1 year.
Late in the second half, Thelwell was moving in transition, looking for a tough finish on the right side of the glass. But between the takeoff and the landing, he hurt his ankle and was down on the floor, and it looked like his day was seemingly done.
He was in a lot of pain, and he's in a lot of pain right now.
However, with 4 minutes left in a one-possession game, Thelwell made his entrance back onto the court and impacted the game right away.
I'm sort of amazed he came back in because I was right there when right after it happened. We threw him in there, and he got to the rim a couple times, got fouled. I think it says what we already knew. He's a character guy. I've said that, as I try to categorize who he is for you guys. That dude has character.
That toughness and character is what the Hawkeyes will need the rest of the season, as Owen Freeman is already out and Thelwell was the next Hawkeye to catch the injury bug. From Carver Hawkeye Arena, I'm Joel Keller, DITV Sports.
Now, Colin, I think it's about time we took a look at In the Zone's top 5 plays of the week. Let's start things off with play 4 and 5. Let's start off with play 5 here. Lucy Olson, as she's known to do, gets that mid-range jumper to go from the elbow. Big time shot, tough basket for the transfer senior.
And then number 4, Evan Bronze. We saw it a little earlier. Look at this again. The block from Bronze from one coast to another. Three-pointer from Price Sanford. And then the putback from Bronze. But it wouldn't be enough as Iowa would fall to Purdue.
Now, the Iowa women's basketball team returns home this week. The Hawks will look to keep their 4-game win streak alive as they host the Rutgers Scarlet Knights inside Carver Hawkeye Arena on Thursday. Rutgers are coming off a win over the Purdue Boilermakers, making just their second Big Ten win this season.
The Hawkeye men's and women's track and field teams will find themselves all over the place this upcoming weekend. Both teams will send athletes to 4 different meets. Iowa will compete at the Jarvis Scott Open at Texas Tech, the Tyson Invitational at Arkansas State, the Boo David Henry Valentine Invitational at Boston University, and the Robinson Family Open at Tiffin University. All the action will take place over Friday and Saturday.
And there's no rest for the Iowa softball team either, as they'll head down to Texas for the Lions Classic. And just like this past weekend, the Hawks will play a doubleheader on Friday and Saturday, with one last game on Sunday. But unlike last weekend, they'll play Alabine Christian and East Texas A&M twice over the weekend. And they'll finish up their trip down south with SIUE on Sunday.
Well, from one spring sport starting up to another, the Iowa baseball team is set to start their season this weekend. The Hawkeyes will head to Tampa for a series against South Florida to open up the new year. They'll play their first game at 5:30 on Friday.
All right, now enough previews, Colin. Let's take a look at play number 3. Pia Krantholt here gets the rally here in her match with Iowa State's Gabriella Felix. Right there, boom, has Felix on the back foot. Felix able to save it here, though. This volley will go on for a little bit before Pia gets good placement on this ball, throws Felix off a little bit, and is able to score.
And now for the number 2 play, Brock Harding driving up the right side. Some more men's basketball action leads to a no-look pass and a duck from Riley Mulvey. Let's rewind that play and take another look. Brock Harding slowing down between the legs, looks up the court, but instead finds Riley Mulvey in the paint.
Now back to the tennis courts. The Hawkeye tennis team, they're taking a trip down south this weekend. First, they'll head to Tennessee to take on Memphis on Friday. Then they'll head to Mississippi for a battle against Ole Miss on Sunday.
And the gymnastics team has a busy weekend coming up as well. First, they'll take a trip to Missouri for a quad against Missouri, Alabama, and Illinois on Friday. Then Illinois will follow them back to Coralville for a head-to-head matchup on Sunday.
And the men's wrestling team has a couple of big Big Ten matchups on deck as the season winds down. First, they'll head to Minneapolis to take on Minnesota on Friday. The Golden Gophers are 10-1 overall with their lone loss, a close one, to Nebraska. Then they'll return home for a meeting with Northwestern on Sunday. The Wildcats are currently 3-6 overall, but they're coming off their lone conference victory over Michigan State.
The men's basketball team will look to get back on track this week. First, they take a trip out to Rutgers on Wednesday. Rutgers is 12-12 overall, 5-8 in the Big Ten, and they're coming off a loss to Maryland. Then Iowa will stay out east with a meeting with Maryland. The Terrapins are 18-6 right now with an 8-5 record in Big Ten play. They were on a 5-game win streak before losing to Ohio State, but they got back on track with a win over Rutgers. And here's our In the Zone top play of the week. We've waited long enough. Let's see what that number 1 play is. Back with some men's wrestling action. We saw it earlier, the big stakes as Nebraska almost getting an upset, but Stephen Buchanan, there to save the day. He's got his guy down, and eventually the pin comes, illuminating this crowd. Stephen Buchanan, 6 points in his match, brought Iowa within 1 against Nebraska, and eventually led them to a win.
Now, Colin, there's a reason this is a special Monday edition of In the Zone, right? And that's because of the big-time Super Bowl matchup that we got to see last night. So let's take a look at Super Bowl matchup. Of course, former Hawkeye Cooper DeJean was in the house for that game, and not only did he play, but he also had a big-time impact. The rookie cornerback, on his birthday, no less, picked off Patrick Mahomes right there, and he'd take that thing 38 yards all the way to the house to put the Eagles up 17-0. And, of course, after that, Patrick Mahomes would go on to throw another interception, so just really snowballing things there. Cooper DeJean got this train rolling, though, and his team would go on to take down the Chiefs 40-22, making DeJean a Super Bowl champion in his first season in the NFL.
Yeah, Brady, I mean, you just can't forget one of the biggest days in sports, especially, Cooper DeJean there, young guy, rookie season, and the Eagles defense last night. Just incredible performance out of them.
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. The Chiefs had nothing rolling offensively until there was like 3 minutes left in the game.
I know, just Hawkeye sports going on all around, but that's all we have from this past week, and looking forward to this week ahead. To keep up to date with us and all of Hawkeye sports, make sure to tune in to DailyIowan.com YouTube page and our episode again next week.
And for all of us here at DITV, I've been Brady Barron.
And I'm Colin Crithers. See you next week for DITV Sports in the Zone.